Hi, everybody. It is 5:30. I will call this meeting to order now. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or has any correspondence been received on any closed session items?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. The City Council will now recess to closed session. It is 5:31. Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great Wednesday night so far. It is 6:14. I will call the city council meeting to order. Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report out of closed session, sir?
Yes, Mayor, we do have an item to report. This would be with regard to the second item in closed session, which was a conference with legal counsel concerning anticipated litigation and the initiation of litigation. In that closed session, the city council voted 4-1, with Mayor Estrada voting no, to initiate a legal action. Per the Brown Act, this announcement doesn't have to identify the action or the defendants or the particulars, but upon inquiry, we will make that information available to anybody that asks after the action has been filed. That's all.
Thank you, City Attorney Milching. Madam Clerk, have you received any correspondence on tonight's agenda?
Yes, the council has correspondence in your red folders.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to move over to roll call. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dinas.
Here.
Councilmember Diedrich.
Here.
Councilmember Temple.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Here.
And Mayor Estrada.
Here, thank you very much, everybody. Now we're going to move on to part 3 of the agenda, Words of Inspiration. Would Rachel Ulibari with the Menifee Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints come to the podium to provide the words of inspiration? Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here to share some words of inspiration with you. And what I wanted to talk about was, at one time, ice cream sundaes cost a lot less than they do now. And a 10-year-old boy went into a coffee shop and sat at a table, and the waitress promptly brought him a glass of water, and he asked her, "How much is the ice cream sundae?" And she said, 50 cents. And the little boy pulled out money from his pocket. In those days, there was a lot of change. We didn't have a lot of folding money when you were young. And he counted the coins in his hand, and he looked and he said, "Okay, well, how much is the dish of plain ice cream?" And she told him, "Well, that's 35 cents. And the little boy again counted his coins, and he said, "I'll have a dish of plain ice cream." So the waitress brought him the ice cream and put the bill on the table and walked away. And the boy when he finished his ice cream, he paid the cashier and departed. When the waitress returned, she began wiping down the table, and suddenly what she saw caused her to swallow hard. There, placed neatly beside the empty dish, was a 15 cents tip for her. The story brings to light the power that we are endowed with to ensure everything is accounted for. May you remember this simple story to help guide you in your decision for the city of Menifee, to remember that we must account for all. And now I'm going to say a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today, humbled and grateful for the unique gifts that you've given us. Strengthen our resolve to walk in the fullness of your intent for this city. Tonight we come before you requesting you help us to work together harmoniously and united. May this meeting be filled with inspiration and productivity, and with everyone that contributes their unique gifts and talents to those who reside and frequent our wonderful city. We further request that this meeting have a lasting impact on those who attend and participate. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Ulibari. Now we're going to move on to the Pledge of Allegiance for our beautiful flag. I'd like to call up a student here in the city of Menifee, Uzziah Ulabari. Uzziah, come on up and lead us in the flag, sir. Thank you, Uzziah. We're going to move on to part 5, presentations. And on this portion, we're going to listen for our police department quarterly update. Could I please have Police Chief Chris Carr provide the update? Hey, good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Give me 1 second here. Get this lectern to come up. All right, so I'm here tonight to present our quarterly update, which this will be the annual recap, fourth quarter of 2024. What we're going to show here is total numbers of 24 versus 23, with a 2% increase in calls for service overall. And then here are our top 5 calls. You will see most of these we're seeing increased numbers in 24, and this is due to just increased proactivity, welfare checks, follow-up, public assist, still maintaining our top 5. And then we go into our alarm calls here. Slight uptick in 2024 versus 2023. Again, just 9 calls total for the year that were actual. Of those, it was 4 that were residential, 5 business. And then we get into what we call our Group A crimes, which went down 9% overall. You're looking at a 7% decrease in property crimes, 2% decrease in crimes against persons, with about a 1% increase compared to last year on the crimes against society. And this is your narcotic violations, self-induced criminal activity. And again, this is in part to increased police activity, self-created. So a lot of good pedestrian checks and officers taking initiative at making contact with the individuals. Our part Bs are your warrants, narcotic paraphernalia, graffiti, and again, you'll see increases year after year. And this is just proactivity, good police work out there, making contact with individuals that are creating havoc amongst our citizens. Again, here, top 5, 8 Group A's. Our simple and our aggravated assaults, about 40% of these numbers still account for domestic violence. Working on solutions, Safe Family Justice Center, and some other resources to bring this down. You'll see again the increase in drug and narcotic violations, proactive police work. Oh, you know what, before I go on, the motor vehicle theft, I hope everybody here sees that we're about 42% down from 2 years ago. So great work out there, using technology and just holding people accountable. We're hearing from the criminals saying they don't want to commit crime in the city of Menifee anymore. So good work on the officers out there. Again, here we just wanted to show some comparisons of where we've been the last 3 years, overall changes. The big numbers here, the 70% increase in over 2022 for drug and narcotic violations. This is, again, good police work out there, weapon violations, drug equipment. This is just officers out there finding it, making good contact with people and finding solutions. Our cases were up. We were down about 2.5% compared to 2022, but up a little bit from last year. Arrests by age group, we're still seeing 30 to 49 being our biggest chunk. But you can see here total arrests, over 1,600 arrests made, and 11% of those were repeat offenders. Code enforcement, great work this year. We're all seeing the efforts out there, Krikorian coming down, and I don't know if people noticed, but the golf course clubhouse also coming down. So just some great interaction and partnerships there. 2005 cases opened, And we still have about 1,700 active with 1,100 closed. And then Hope, as we're talking about services out to all of our homeless and opportunities. Some really great work here. We've been able to place about 5 families into different housing opportunities and reunification with family, as well as getting people into services for drug treatment. And then our community behavioral health, 416 calls with an average of 40 minutes per call. 37 of those had a prior history of mental health that we're continuing to get them assistance for. And then our activities over the last quarter, Tippecop over at Texas Roadhouse, Special Olympics, Torch Run, Faith in Blue, the Mill Vet Packing, Cookie with a Cop, Cops and Cows, Shop with a Cop, and then just various pictures in the community. We also, in addition to Shop with a Cop, we did our first teen Christmas, Adopt a Teen, and that program went over where we hosted a dinner for teenage kids that were also in less opportune positions. So these programs went over very well. We enjoyed the support from Target as they gave us Target gift cards for these children to go shopping, and then other various donors that came in. And then over the last quarter, we had promotions, Sergeant Tom Perez, Sergeant Dustin Norwood, Lieutenant Corey Cox, and then Senior Records Technician Eileen Lopez. Again, we just wanted to highlight good activity and growth within the organization. And then we have upcoming events, Coffee with the Cop at Starbucks, February 12th. And then we did bring our blue envelope. So the blue envelope program will be highlighted here. You're gonna see informal meeting on March 1st talking about the education. This blue envelope will allow families to provide information and keep it with them in their vehicles or in their home, or even register it with us so that we know if someone needs or has developmental challenges that we need to provide special assistance to, and just brings awareness and better communication, better partnerships. March 19th, we will be teaching our first course in autism de-escalation. This is the first course in the state that will be including what we call PROACT training. This is a type of restraint training typically reserved for educators. This is a 2-day course we're going to be teaching to law enforcement, and we're the first one in the state to do this that is post-approved, bringing in de-escalation techniques and restraint techniques to reduce harm to those that don't understand simple commands. So great work by the teams that are putting these courses together. And with that, we'll open up to any questions.
Thank you, Chief Carr. I have Councilmember Temple in the queue.
Hey, Chief. First of all, I want to say thank you and commend your department. These last 5 years, I've appreciated so much seeing the presence of the units rolling down the streets and the attention and the service the officers give. So please let them know how much we appreciate and support them. My question has to deal with some of the open land. For example, in my district, District 3, we have the open land primarily near Bell Mountain, but other areas that are a little rugged. Can you give us some information about, dealing with trespassing calls, illegal vehicles, that type of thing, how you address that?
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, we do encourage our community to call us, get a hold of our dispatch center so that we're aware and we can respond out there. I'm aware of the Bell Mountain specifically, where we do have some off-road vehicle violations. We have worked with the community. We've teamed up with Public Works. We've teamed up with code enforcement, and we're out there providing directed enforcement. We're trying to educate our public on safe riding habits. We're bringing home, the e-bike ordinance. We're also educating people on electric motorcycles and where they belong, what's street registered, what's not. So we do reach out with PSAs. We do conduct enforcement. What we've committed to is committed to safe enforcement. So if they are off-road and they are taking off on us, we will try and surround the area and make contact with them in the roadway, but we do not want to pursue them in an off-road terrain. We don't have vehicles equipped for that type of pursuit, and we don't want to put young youth at risk. We'll deal with them when they're on the street. We identify where they're coming from, and we work with the community to bring some solutions.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chief. Since you brought it up, I didn't hear an announcement that at the next city council meeting, we're going to be getting an ordinance on e-bikes.
Yes, we are.
That's fantastic. Can you give us a highlight of what that's going to, the scope of that? And along with that, you've started an e-bike education program, right?
We did. So we are working with the school districts. As a matter of fact, we just had a meeting tonight, and there will be a public meeting tomorrow with Menifee Union. So we'll start with the education piece. We're working with the school district to bring education forward to our youth and to our parents. We currently, on our department website, have a portal. This is through our resource channel on our page. That will get you certified. It teaches you the different levels, level 1, 2, and 3 of an electronic bike or any other e-conveyance vehicle. Lets you know what's supposed to be registered on the roadway, what age you have to have a driver's license to operate that electric vehicle. And it lets you take a test. Once you've taken that test, we're working with the school districts. We're going to be implementing a sticker program. So any student that comes into the school districts will provide a certificate. The school will then put a sticker on the vehicle, and those students will be allowed to ride it there. That'll be for the school districts to impose on that. We're getting really good traction with the districts, and they're happy to do this. But it also
And just somebody who doesn't go through that certification, doesn't get the sticker, won't be allowed to ride their e-bike on campus.
then the school administrators will tell them they have to remove the bike, and it can't come back until they get educated on it. So we've made it as simple as we can. CHP already created a program. We're just pointing everybody there. They print off the certificate and bring it in. On the ordinance side of it, again, we're classifying each one of the vehicles. We're identifying what is roadworthy, what is not, what is required to be registered through the DMV, what requires a driver's license, what doesn't, and where you can operate them. So we'll have signage put up. We've spoken with Public Works on how this will be addressed. Places like Lazy Creek, where the bikes, can exceed 25 miles an hour, they will be prohibited to operate on there. And this ordinance will talk about roadway safety and how it can be operated, what restrictions there will be.
Good. And then part 2 is you have this slide. I'm hoping that this is just an easy printout based on the data, but this arrestees by age group.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you've looked at it or not, but is there any data on breaking down the crimes committed by age group? I'd be curious to know if there are certain types of crimes that are more propensity towards this age group versus others.
We can definitely bring that forward if that's something you'd like to see in the future. That is probably a category that our crime analysts could break out and we could highlight.
If it's just a matter of programming one more slide, I'd appreciate that, because I mean, my suspicion would be 18 to 29 is more violent crimes, 13 to 49 is more drug-related crimes for prevention purposes. If that's the way it breaks down, I'd be interested to know that.
Okay.
But if it's even all the way across the board, then that's an indicator of other
We'll
problems.
run the table and we'll find out, and have it ready for you next time.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I don't see any other council members in the queue. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate your presentation and your hard work.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, great. We're going to move on to part 6 of the agenda approval or modifications. Madam Clerk, are there any modifications to tonight's agenda?
No modifications, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Part 7, public comments on non-agendized items. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on non-agenda items?
We do, Mayor, but I apologize. Can I get a motion and second and all in favor for the approval of the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry, we rushed ahead. Okay, I make a motion to approve. Can I get a second? I'll second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, it is approved. Part 7, non-agendized items. Madam Clerk, who are our speakers tonight?
If I may, can I read the public comment statement for those public speakers?
I can go ahead and read it.
We
Just
do
wanted
have
to-
public speakers.
We do?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, I was excited to hear who was coming up. Okay. All right, this is the time for the members of the public to address the council about items which are not listed on the agenda. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the council's ability to respond to comments on the non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes on any single item. Okay.
I have Ida Valles, followed by Devin Limon.
Okay, come on up. Good evening.
Howdy, let's see if I get this to go down a little bit. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm a new resident, well, 5-year resident now of Menifee, transplant from good old Huntington Beach, California, where I was represented by Dana Robacher for a long time. Now we have Calvert. I have been making continuous calls to his office with no avail. And I'm just wondering if anyone else is worried that we're not being represented. He's there, it's the House of Representatives. We are to be represented by this gentleman. There's complacency, and we're accepting it. I will not accept it. We all are in his district. He won by 1.7%. I was a precinct leader, and I was able to increase my precinct by 15%. Now, am I motivated? Hell yeah, I'm motivated. I want action. The last 2 weeks is an embarrassment to the United States of America. And I hope you guys all agree. I know we're all Republicans here. I'm proud to say I was a Republican, and I changed my affiliation. Now, kids, do you guys care about kids? No? Okay. So, kids with autism we're talking about. Well, where are those funds coming from? Gonna come from the Department of Education? I'll be gone. We want to weaken our security, the FBI, CIA. I guess you guys don't care about that either. Does anyone care about that? You don't care about that? All right. They care more about transgender people. 0.5% of the community. 0.5%. My eggs aren't cheaper. Gas has gone up 14 cents in 2 weeks. You guys care about the price of gas? Sure did a year ago. Sure did care about the price of eggs a year ago. But no one is saying anything. Does anyone here care about your price of groceries? Ken Calvert was at a meeting at the senior center right before the election, talking with seniors that couldn't afford their groceries. What is he doing for them now? I am taking over 3 precincts now. I have already turned the vote of 15 Republicans in my area. I
Ms.
am proud to
Velez,
say
your time is up.
I'll do everything I can to get rid of them.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. Madam Clerk, will you please call the next speaker?
Devin Lamone, followed by Tom Furman.
Good evening.
Howdy, you guys. Well, I just returned from the inauguration a couple weeks ago, and it was cool to participate in like a tradition over the past 250 years and to actually see the system of our government, which I believe is going to go down in history as one of the greatest nations in the world because it's a nation founded by the people, for the people. And being inside that stadium of 50,000 people and to have everyone on the same exact team with the same mission was energetic. It was amazing to witness. But it was cool to see people united behind a newly elected politician, right? And the people of this country, they're getting sick of politicians. The old school politicians, that's coming to an end. And what people have hope in now is to get rid of the old way, the old dog, all right? This gives hope of a way to bring progress, and not just progress, but progress with some meaning, which is destiny. And that's what I feel in our nation right now. But I come from construction, and most of the stuff people learn is from what someone else learned, and they don't even know why they learned it. So people get into this cycle of just doing something because they're like, that's the way I was taught, or that's the way it goes here. And everyone just gets stuck in that mindset of this is how it goes here, all right? Someone new walks in, and someone that's been here for a while is going to say, We're used to doing it like this, all right? We didn't vote for someone new to have the same thing happen over and over again. People nowadays are voting for someone that's going to change with meaning. And that doesn't mean completely wipe everything out, but if you look at something and it doesn't make sense and it's not serving the purpose of the people, why are we paying for it? So I just want to say to the city collectively is we vote in who we want in through a majority, through our districts, for mayor, all right? And it should be everyone's agenda to stand behind the people that have voted for what they want to see in this city. So my main gripe is the people that just say, hey, this is how we normally do things, all right? We want fresh blood in here. And if you're the old school politician, your time's ticking, honestly. So I just want to say, I love my country. I love what we could do, and it starts at a local level. And we should really be listening to the voice of the people, because it's not how good you could govern and how fast you can move up in government. That's not what we care about. We want to see change that helps the people that voted for every one of you. Some of you people might got voted in off your name and your colorful campaign sign, but some people make real change.
Mr.
And that's
Limon,
why I
your time
voted
is
for
up.
Ricky. He was out there taking action and changing lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your time is appreciated.
Tom Furman, followed by Matthew Gilmore.
Good evening. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, I'm going to take you on a little trip to the inauguration. Okay, I recently went to D.C. with my grandson. We took a plane to Philadelphia, then to Pittsburgh. His 6 family members drove 5 hours to get to the metro at 5 a.m. in the morning. At 6 a.m. in the morning, we got in line. It was 9 degrees. We waited 4 hours. We finally got in at 10 o'clock. Whoop. Stop the clock. Yeah. Okay. You all have a picture of Corey there. Okay. Trump made these flags. If you could hold them up so that people can see. This was my brother's nephew who got killed in the Butler assassination attempt. Okay. The Butler County Fire Department led the parade. And we have a new leader in the White House and a new leader in Menifee. Let's get behind that same electricity and make America great again. My final comment, I would like to see term limits on the council and on the planning commission, okay? No more musical chairs as we can see it from the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your time is appreciated. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
Matthew Gilmore, followed by Jeff Moss.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, members of the City Council. I'd like to bring this back around to the City of Menifee. I'm a 21-year resident. I'm a retired veteran, and I know there's many energetic people that have expressed feelings today about their nation, but many of those policies the City Council has no control over. And so I'd like to address the things within our city. First of all, I would like to welcome new Councilman Ben Diedrich, who is in my district, District 2. And I also have been here, since I've been here for 21 years, I have seen the growth of the city. Over 100,000 people we have. And the crime that has been reported is slightly going up. That's really going down, because if you look at the increase in population, we're doing pretty good. We have a #1 city, people flock here. Educated people, well-to-do. We are a magnet for the best of society, and that's because of Measure DD, I believe, and the ability of our city council to properly manage our city. We have not gone over budget. We maintain fiscal responsibility. We've gotten rewards for that. but I'm a strong proponent of Measure DD. No businesses in our city have shut down because of the extra 1% tax. But we have seen growth. We've seen increase in police. We've seen parks growing where there weren't any parks. We have a great city, and I hope that Councilman Diedrich will support DD. And not only have we elected a mayor, but we also elect council members, and they deserve our vote and support as well, not just the mayor. We all are in a representative democracy, and we have a whole city council. So let's support our city council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your time is very appreciated tonight. Madam Clerk, the next speaker.
Last speaker is Jeff Moss.
Okay, welcome.
First of all, thank you, Mayor and City Councilman, for having me here. I really appreciate it. My name is Jeff Moss, and I'm a retired Orange County Sheriff, and I've been a homeowner and resident of Menifee for over 16 years. And I've been watching the council meetings from home on YouTube for the past few years, and I've noticed that many of the names that are being reappointed happen to be the same people for over a decade. So as a concerned resident, I would like to suggest term limits. This would allow other residents a chance to be part of the growth of Menifee. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Your time is appreciated, sir. Okay, Madam Clerk, you mentioned that was the last speaker. That concludes Part 7 of the agenda. We will move over to Part 8 of the agenda, council member updates and comments. This is the time for the City Council to provide any updates or comments on meetings and events they have attended. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Councilman Diedrich. Would you please start us off, sir?
Sure, thank you. And again, I'm just officially joining tonight, but I'll give you a little recap of what I've done in the last couple of weeks. I attended the Southwest Higher Education Coalition. Again, not sworn in as a council member at that time, so I wasn't officially representing Menifee, but I attended, and I know we're going to be talking about making an appointment to that tonight, so I hope you guys will keep me in consideration for that. I also attended my last Planning Commission meeting, transitioning from Planning Commission to here, and Councilmember Temple and I last week went to the new Council Members Academy in Garden Grove, 3 days of seminars and intense learning, so that was very educational and good for both of us coming in to have that experience. And then this morning, I think most of us were at the inaugural State of the Menifee Union School District, where they're doing great things there, so it's great to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Diedrich. Councilmember Temple.
Since our last meeting, I attended the promotion of Sergeant Tom Perez of Menifee PD. On January 22nd, I went and had lunch at the Case in Acero Center with the seniors. That was very enjoyable. Had a good time there. January 24th, I went with Mayor Estrada, and we visited the home of a resident whose home had been consumed by fire early in the evening over by Case in Acero Center. And we spent some time with that homeowner just speaking and reassuring him. As Ben said, on January 29th through 31st, I attended training for new council members in Garden Grove put on through Cal Cities. February 3rd, I attended the Western Riverside Regional Conservation Authority meeting in Riverside, and I have nothing to report on that. February 4th, I attended the Menifee Interfaith Council meeting, and then this morning, I also attended the Menifee Union School District State of the District meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember Temple. Councilmember Dinas.
Thank you. January 21st, I attended the Amphitheater Ad Hoc Committee meeting with our Mayor Pro Tem. On the 22nd, I attended RTA Southwest T-Now meeting. The 23rd, I attended the RTA Board of Directors meeting. And on the 29th, I attended the Army Recruiting Station ribbon cutting. On the 30th, I attended the Finance Committee meeting. February 1st, I attended the Adaptive Sports Fair. And today, I attended the Menifee School District State of the District. And this afternoon, I attended RTA's Operations and Admin meeting. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dinas. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I like that we have a lot of overlap here, seeing a lot of our council members at things. I was also at the Menifee PD promotion for Sergeant Tom Perez. We saw his picture earlier tonight. I went to the Wake Up Menifee Chamber of Commerce event at the California Coast Credit Union. With Councilmember Dinas, I attended the Amphitheater Ad Hoc Committee, and to report out of that, we are beginning to program events at the amphitheater. So we're getting to a point now where we're starting to look for what type of events we want to have there. And I think our first event is actually already scheduled. So we're starting to really get moving on that. Things are going to start happening there. I attended a meeting of our Rotary Club. I was here for the Senior Advisory Committee meeting to honor outgoing member Linda Blanche, who was my appointee moving over to Veterans and Military Families Advisory Committee, and Debbie Mannion was also honored, but she's bounced back and she's now back with us. I had a meeting with my new appointee planning commissioner, Ivan Holler. I gave him a tour of the city. I thought it was important that a planning commissioner would know where the hot spots of development are, so I gave him a tour there. With Councilman Dinas, I attended the ribbon cutting for the Army Recruiting Depot. They've been there since 2018, but they're just now joining the chamber because they want to be more of a part of the community, so kudos to them for that. I attended the Paloma Valley High School mock trial competition where Paloma Valley defeated Santa Rosa in the first round.
We'll see you next year.
And they lost the next 2 rounds. Okay. I went over to the all-chamber mega mixer at the Storm Stadium, and I want to thank Corey from our Economic Development Department who was there, and I was able to introduce him to 2 business owners who are looking to come to Menifee right now, and he was able to get them hooked up with information. Just on Saturday, I was with the members of the Red Cross and the Rotary at the Sound the Alarm event, where we installed about 214 smoke alarms in 72 homes in the Bel Air Mobile Estates. Thank you to Dave Faust for spearheading that and doing the great pictures for us. I stopped by the Adaptive Sports Fair. Later that day, I was at the Quilts of Valor ceremony, where 11 honorees were provided quilts. It's a national event, and our local Sun City at Webb Hall honored 11 veterans with quilts that they did themselves. I attended the WRCOG Executive Committee meeting. What I have to report out on that is that it was voted on to recalculate the membership dues. So they haven't been raised since 2008. So they went back to 2009 to the present and calculated annually CPI to what it would be today if they had been doing it the whole time. Sounds daunting. Our fees are going up from $13,000 a year to $24,000 a year. But Murrieta's is going up $11,000. Temecula's going up $12,000. Corona, Harupa Valley, everybody's kind of, it's a lot, but everybody's feeling it the same, and it's going to really be able to help this great agency help us build the city. Yesterday, I took a tour of our desalination plant with District 4 board member Jeff Armstrong from EMWD, and I learned that in case you're wondering where the salt water comes from that's in that desalination plant, it isn't shipped from Long Beach out to here and then back around the city. It comes from the ground. We have virtually unlimited supply of salt water under the ground that comes from agriculture runoff, things like that. That plant alone provides 30,000 homes of clean water just by itself, just from extracting it up out of the ground, and they're getting ready to expand it out. It's a wonderful plant. And thanks to General Manager Joe Mawad and Public Affairs Rep Amanda Fine for making that happen. And then this morning I attended the Menifee Union School District State of the District.
All right, there's a couple bottles of water for you, Bob, right there. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll go ahead and do my updates. When we had Martin Luther King Day, the Sunday before, I went to the View Church and participated in the ceremony there honoring Dr. Martin Luther King. And we also had the mayor from Marietta there, Cindy Warren. And so it was nice to see neighbors get together and honor Dr. Martin Luther King. Over the past couple of weeks, I also went to the ethics training, and council members Dinas and Mayor Pro Tem Carwin were there, and we did that. It was available for council members and committee members and commissioners, so that's something we do every 2 years. Next, I went to the finance meeting, and I attended that with council member Dinas. And just to bring a little bit of public awareness, there's a assisted senior living facility called Pacifica. It's right there off of Valley, and there will be homes built up on that hill behind that senior assisted living center. And we're just growing so much. And I just want to make the public aware that that development is coming as well. Last night I went to talk to the soccer clubs. The coaches invited me out just to give a few motivational words and words of encouragement for the youth. I think it's very important, us as council members, and I see committee members and commissioners in the crowd, to give our youth words of encouragement, lift them up at such a young age. Going and being positive with them sets them up for success. Just trying to help get their head straight for their adulthood, and letting them know that their dreams are still possible, and to trust in themselves and to believe in themselves. And so that was very rewarding. Councilmember Temple mentioned we went to go visit one of the fire victims. The street was Sugarfoot. It was off of Lazy Creek Road. And Councilmember Temple, I'm really glad we went to go do that. It meant a lot to the resident to have ambassadors from the city go and show support during a difficult time. And please, if any of you know anyone who's going through a difficult time or financial hardship, we have Red Cross services, but more uniquely to Menifee, we have the Menifee Community Cupboard, and they provide food and assistance to anyone going through a difficult time. So please refer them there. And if you don't know where that is, that's in Sun City in the Cherry Hills Shopping Center. And finally, our chief of police mentioned it earlier. Tomorrow, there's an educational seminar where our police department and the school district are going to partner over at the district office. The district office is right across the street from us right here for Menifee Unified. And there's 2 sessions, one from 9 a.m. to 10:30 in the morning, and another one from 5:30 to 7. And they'll share information on where the city and our school district is moving in unison to provide safety for this hot e-bike topic. Okay, that is all my updates. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to part 9, approval of the minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes for the council's approval. Does the city council have any modifications? Hearing none. Can I ask the city council for all in favor of approving the January 15th, 2025 special and regular meeting minutes? Aye.
Aye.
All right, all is approved. Now we will move on to part 10, the consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are to be approved in one motion unless a council member requests a separate action on a specific item on the consent calendar. If an item is removed from the consent calendar, it will be discussed individually and acted upon separately. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on consent calendar items?
No, there is not.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any items the council wishes to pull for further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
Move to approve consent.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Okay, and that passes 5-0. We're now on to item 11, public hearing items. This is 11.1, ordinance introduction and first reading for updating participation in the Western Riverside County Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee Program, also known as TUMF, and amending the TUMF per the 2024 Nexus study. Can our Public Works Director, Nick Fiddler, introduce the item, please?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing Kristen Jensen, my financial analyst for the Public Works Department, who will provide an update on the Western Riverside County Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Jensen.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Get myself situated here. Thanks for the opportunity to give you this presentation. My goal is really just to kind of give you a high-level overview of the program. Welcome to our new council members, and for anybody in the audience that isn't familiar with the program. It really is a key in our success in terms of the massive CIP projects that we are able to undertake. It's program that supports those. So we're going to walk through this. So the program itself is really over 20 years old. It originated many moons ago when some Southwest cities realized that they were having shortfalls and going to continue to have shortfalls with the growth in terms of providing transportation infrastructure regionally that would support the increase in folks and businesses coming this way. The program looks at future forecasts of those needs and develops projects that are then placed on a regional network of highways and arterials within Western Riverside County. The kind of main point of the program is to ensure that new development contributes their fair share to the transportation infrastructure that we need to support the development that they're bringing in. We currently have Western Riverside Council of Governments who administers the program. I happen to have Cameron Brown, who is the program manager, here with me tonight. He's also my TUMF guru, so if you have any hard questions, he's coming up. The TUMF implementation history is shown on this slide. Just wanted to give everyone an idea of the kind of timelines of some of the other Nexus studies that have happened prior to this Nexus study that we're talking about tonight. Tonight is the fourth Nexus study. There have been 3 studies that were done prior. One of them was not too long after the initial study was done that established the program. Menifee joined WRCOG in 2009, shortly after its incorporation. And we've seen, I think, one other study that has been done since that time. The program, and I believe even the state requires that studies be done every 5 years to kind of reevaluate any development impact fees that are being assessed to developers. There were some gaps or kind of some stretches in time there because I know that WRCOG and its member agencies had paused a couple of times to take in information from the, I don't know what's happening. Okay. The Southern California Association of Governments regional transportation plans. So kind of trying to time some of those Nexus studies required them to kind of wait on updating the TUMF program. The Nexus studies are adopted by ordinance. That's why we're here tonight. The fee schedules that are proposed that come out of those Nexus studies are actually adjusted via resolution. So that's why you see tonight on the item that we're looking at, you've got an ordinance introduction and then also an adoption of not a revolution, a resolution. Let's not adopt any revolutions. Sorry. So a quick hit on some of the elements of the TUMF program. The program establishes 5 program zones or planning districts that we'll take a look at on the next slide. Like I mentioned, it identifies TUMF eligible projects. They have to be regional projects. This is not a program that funds local roads. It is definitely for the larger projects that are going to serve to connect communities, and we'll take a look at what some of those are. The studies themselves, again, conducted every 5 years. They often they always adjust the growth forecasting. They take a look at the project cost adjustments. So things that we saw in this last study was the cost of construction materials, right? Has doubled and tripled since our last Nexus study was performed. The studies also may add, remove, or update projects. And they also ensure that we are developing these fees in compliance with current government codes, as well as updating the fees as we need to be compliant with any recent legislation. On the right side of the screen there, you'll see that there are 5 land use categories that the fees are developed in, and we'll take a look at those too. So this is really just to show you those 5 planning districts that are within the program. Menifee falls into the Central District. We share the Central District with Paris and Moreno Valley. And then this map is the regional system of highways and arterials, the TUMF network that shows the projects. The types of projects that are eligible for TUMP funding include interchanges, bridges, railroad crossings or grade separations. We also look at areas where we are expanding the number of lanes. You have to have a minimum, I think, of 4 lanes on a project for it to be kind of designated as a regional arterial. Was that the wrong way? Yes. Okay. So one of the things that I thought was really important was for everybody to understand kind of what a key program this is for us here in Menifee. The list of projects that you see here, and we've kind of zoomed in on that regional system map, shows projects not only that are that have been completed, but some that are currently in process. And then I know our director, Fiddler, earlier this evening had mentioned some of the projects. Garbani Interchange at I-215 happened to be a project that came out of the most recent study with a $42 million TUMP allocation. So it's a big deal. These projects are a big deal. This program is a big deal in terms of funding our various infrastructure to keep pace. So we also have Scott Road and Bundy Canyon. I think one of the changes that came about there was a section of Scott Road that was initially slated to be 4 lanes that through the study has been updated to 6. And then we have a very big project up near Ethanak, Antelope, and Highway 74, where we're going to be realigning and doing a grade separation up there. So, I should probably keep this up here. So, as we shared in the staff report, there are really probably 3 big outcomes that came out of this study. One was the AB 602 compliance. And AB 602 requires that any development impact fee that is charged for residential land use now is not allowed to be done simply by dwelling unit, but it has to be based on square footage. So this study implemented a tiered rate that is based on square footage and calculated and split what used to be kind of a one chunk fee into 4 different tiers. The study also adjusted the population and growth forecasts based off of the SCAG planning documents, and those SCAG documents looked at growth from 2018 out through 2045. Already mentioned the cost of construction, which was a pretty big deal in terms of the change in the fees for the study. And then the study also, obviously, as kind of a conclusion, recommends changes to the current schedule for our TUMP fees. I feel horrible, but somebody understands me needing water out there, so. So as you can see on the left-hand side of the slide here, we've got our current TUMP schedule of fees. And these fees have been in effect since the beginning of 2022. The 2024 Nexus study, as I mentioned, takes the single-family fee from a per dwelling unit fee and establishes tiers from under 1,800 square feet, in between 1,800 and 2,300 square feet, 2,300 to 2,700 square feet, and then a fee that is for homes that are 2,700 square feet and above. One of the things to note here is our retail service and our Class A and B office fees are not changing. So really one of the biggest change is with our residential, and then there was a change also in the industrial. So our recommended action tonight is to introduce an ordinance that would repeal and replace our current ordinance, number 2017-229, and update the City of Menifee's participation in the TUMF program. We would also ask to adopt a resolution amending the TUMF that is applicable to all developments within our city. If approved tonight, our next steps would be to have a second reading and adoption of the ordinance, and then that resolution approved tonight would go into effect along with the ordinance 60 days later. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that I shared, and thank you, Cameron, for this, is that this fee is on new development. The TUMP fee is not something that if you were going to go purchase a home that already exists, that is going to have to be paid. And I think that we get that question a lot. So this is new development, new retail, new service. It's not existing and people, purchasing or taking over those areas. So that was fast.
Thank you, Mrs. Jensen. We appreciate your hard work. You only had to take one sip of water. Oh, you took two.
Oh, it was
you
there. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. Council, do we have any questions for staff at this time? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:10. Madam Clerk, can you please confirm that the item was legally noticed and if any correspondence has been received?
The item was legally noticed and no correspondence has been received.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We do not.
Okay, we have no request to speak. Seeing that there's no request to speak, I'll close the public hearing at 7:11. Council, do we have any comments or would we like to discuss? Councilmember Dynas.
Yeah, I did have a question, as I'm thinking about it. The change of the single-family dwelling units to scale it up by square footage, what's the reasoning behind that?
Councilman Dynas, yeah, they've got it. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but it's because the law changed, so we have to do it.
Okay. Simple question, just like that, it's done.
Okay.
Argue with the law.
Okay, council members, any other comments or discussion? Okay. Okay, there's an ordinance introduction and resolution for the council's consideration. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title of the ordinance?
This is an ordinance of the City of Menifee, California, repealing and replacing ordinance number 2017-229 to update participation in the Western Riverside County Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee Program.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance? I'll go ahead and make the motion. Can I get a second? Okay, that passes 5-0. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolution amending TUMF? I'll go ahead and move it.
I'll second it again.
Okay, and that passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, is there anything else we need to do with this item, or did we check all the boxes?
Checked all the boxes.
All right, awesome. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 12. Thank you, Ms. Jensen. Thank you, Director Fiddler. We'll move on to agenda item 12, strategic plan update. And I see we have our Deputy City Manager, Rebecca Kramer. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the public that have joined us. We look forward tonight to be able to provide you with our biannual update on the progress that's been made in the implementation of those goals and objectives that have been outlined in the city's 5-year strategic plan, which went into effect in July of 2023 and will extend through June 2028. I did want to share with you that we are planning this coming spring to hold a council workshop where we'll be spending more time reviewing the goals and objectives in those 5 strategic priority areas that we've established in the plan in greater detail. Also offer an opportunity to make any necessary adjustments as we head towards that midpoint of our 5-year planning period, and of course, in preparation as we begin development of our next 2-year operating and capital improvement program budgets. So with that said, I would like to welcome and introduce Mandy Stevens, our management analyst for the City Executive Office. She's going to be walking through tonight's update. So.
Good evening, Ms. Stevens.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Mandy Stevens, Management Analyst in the City Executive Office. And as Rebecca said, I'll be here to give you an update on our strategic plan. Before we go into the 6-month update, I'm going to give you a little bit of background and how we got to this point. So we conducted a lot of research and community engagement for the current plan, which began back in August of 2022. We held a variety of community forums, conducted surveys, and had conversations through stakeholder interviews, focus groups, and workshops. And our goal was to truly understand the needs of residents and the council and what they wanted for our community. From all this input, the city created the 5-year strategic plan, and it was adopted in 2023. The plan developed a vision and a mission statement along with the 5 foundational pillars, which you see before you on the screen, which are the driving forces for everything that we do in the city. You'll see that each one of those items is listed on every single staff report that we do. So we tie everything back to the strategic plan. So these 5 points are connectivity and mobility, unique identity, community engagement and social infrastructure, thriving economy, and safe and vibrant community. These are our guiding principles, and they help us decide how we allocate funds and prioritize our projects within the capital improvement program and the operating budget. This is going to be our 3rd strategic plan that we've had in the city. Our first one was back in 2012, and our current one was adopted in March of 2023 and began implementation on July 1st of 2023. We're now at the 18-month mark of the plan, and we're focusing on some of the major accomplishments that we've achieved in this past 18 months. And this not the past 18 months, the past 6 months, which covers July 1st to December 31st of 2024. And you'll see a full list of what we achieved and the progress that we've made in the implementation plan that was attached in your agenda packet. As Rebecca mentioned, we'll review the plan in more detail during a spring workshop before we start planning the next biannual budget. And now I'll take a moment to go through the highlights of each of the foundational pillars. So if we begin with connectivity and mobility. So connectivity and mobility focuses on different ways to get around the city with sustainable infrastructure. During this reporting period, the Complete Streets Plan was adopted back in July. This plan is designed to improve access and safety for all types of travel, including walking, biking, and driving. We also opened up the Holland Road overpass in October, and this provided alleviation for traffic congestion on Newport and Scott Roads and reduced commuting times, providing additional east and west access through the city. We also have 15 CIP projects that have been funded in the last 6 months to help reduce traffic congestion, while also which also include road widening projects and traffic signals. And next pillar that we focus on is unique identity. This is a very big focus to the city. It's very important to the council that we set ourselves apart from other cities in the area and what makes us special and a great place to work, live, and visit. To help us with this, staff is working with a consultant to develop a plan that's going to enhance our community identity and boost tourism. A key part of this process is hearing from our residents. We invite everyone to join us for a community workshop that we'll be holding here at City Hall on March 27th, where you're able to share your ideas and give feedback. I hope I'm talking into this. Community engagement and social infrastructure looks at how we can bring people together while sharing information in different ways. It's all about connecting with the community, and whether that's through local events, social media, or other formats. One way we keep everyone informed is through our city's public education government channel, where you can also watch all of our meetings. We also pride ourselves on the original content that we put on this channel. During this past period, we staff produced 38 original programs. This includes covering city event ribbon cuttings, all the videos that were produced for the State of the City, as well as Show Me Menifee and Happy Tales, which is a new show that was produced that shines a light on pet adoption services with Animal Friends of the Valley. During this time, we also saw a 5.6 increase in social media followers on all of the city's accounts, which include Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Nextdoor. And we increased awareness of city events with the launch of 2 new social media accounts to highlight community services and economic development. In the summer of '24, we saw the launch of the Park in the Dark series, which offered residents diverse programming, including moonlight markets, movies in the park, and Shakespeare in the park. Our in-progress items is the Central Park Amphitheater, with major progress being made with construction and the grand opening planned for this summer. Another project well on its way is the Paloma Wash pedestrian bridge, which will connect Central Park to the shopping centers to the east of the city. The prefabricated bridge has been purchased, and bidding for the construction will begin in the next few months. As we continue to engage our community with opportunities to learn more about the city planning, a design workshop was held in October for the future site of the Menifee Community Center, which is going to be located at La Piedra and Menifee Road. Our next pillar is our thriving economy goal, and this is to encourage smart growth within the city and to support businesses and offer residents a variety of shopping, housing, and employment. Our Economic Development Department had contact with over 60 businesses in the last 6 months to offer them in-person resources and get a pulse on current events and business in the business community. We welcomed 10 new businesses, including independently owned restaurants such as Rosoi Indian Food and Papa Smash Burgers. Additionally, we also opened up a unique experience with Savage Spin, which is an indoor cycling studio. The city remains committed to engaging local stakeholders while creating jobs through the development of a comprehensive economic development strategy. To support this initiative, the city has received a $40,000 grant from the Economic Development Administration. Staff are actively engaged in developing the Menifee Innovation District specific plan for the Southern Gateway area. This area is located west of the 215 freeway, east of Howard Road, south of Keller Road, and north of Scott Road. This plan helps to diversify Menifee's economy. Several workshops were held and set the foundation to attract high-tech, high-wage jobs in the community. To support Menifee's commitment to transparency and being business-friendly, the city launched its Enterprise Resource Planning System, now officially known as Menifee Metro, this past July. This efficient system makes it easier for our business partners to handle tasks such as obtaining business licenses and helping generate reports that contribute to the development of our upcoming biennial budget. Lastly, our safe and vibrant community priority looks to provide exceptional public safety and maintain the city's attractive look and feel. In December, we welcomed our new state-of-the-art fire station number 5 in Quail Valley that replaced the old station from the 60s and will serve Menifee community into the future while also enhancing public safety and improving response times. As part of Menifee's Lifesaver program that offers CPR and basic first aid to our community, we trained 285 people during this time these life-saving skills. And if anybody is interested in participating in these classes, you can find out more information on the city's website through the Community Services webpage. Lastly, Menifee PD and Public Works have collaborated on 9 projects to promote safe routes to school, including installing crosswalks, speed signs, and ADA ramps. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Council, do we have any questions at this time? All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
So this is great. I love seeing the results, and I love seeing the things we're doing forward. Is there anything that we as a council need to do to clear the path for things that are on the next 6 months coming up?
In what way?
Are there any like policy obstacles we have or budgeting? I know we've got the CIP workshop coming up, which is going to be a crossover to this issue right here. But as far as the strategic plan goes, is there anything that we need to be looking at to improve policy from our end to improve the strategic plan?
Go ahead. Great question, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for that. No, we don't see any obstacles in our way for implementation of our existing plan, but we do want to spend some time this spring during a workshop taking a closer look at all the goals and objectives that have been identified in the plan. Look to you if there are some adjustments that you'd like to see made, and then we'll be working on incorporating those and making sure that we have the resources in place to support the plan that we have currently and any modifications that exist.
Good, because I just didn't want to get behind the 8 ball if something's coming up that we could take care of. So that's good to know. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have a question. I noticed under Thriving Economy, there was a $40,000 grant to develop a comprehensive economic development strategy, which is great. My question is, I know we had a menu grant that helped small business owners or unique enterprises start up in our city. Do we know if there's anything left from the menu grant or anything left in that account?
I would have to double check with economic development, or Margarita has the answer for that.
Good afternoon. Mayor, to your question, that was ARPA-funded program, and because of the timing of using those funds and appropriating them by December of this year, it was reprogrammed as part of the mid-cycle budget adjustments.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Council, anything else before I move on to the next portion? All right. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or has any correspondence been received?
No, we have not. And no, there are none.
All right. Thank you. All right, Council, this is the time to give any final comments, or if anyone would like to discuss anything, this is the time to address our strategic plan. Okay, this is, all right, nothing.
Well, I think
No problem.
I'll wait for the workshop so we can, I think this is more just to advise us what they've been doing up until now, and then we get a whole workshop plan. We can add things to it and modify. I'm looking forward to hearing the ideas on that.
Okay. Yeah, it never hurts to drop seeds in their head to help get the ball rolling and not have them caught off guard. If we don't have anything to share, okie dokie. We'll go ahead and move on. This is a receive and file item, and no action is required. Thank you, Ms. Stevens, and thank you, Ms. Kramer. All right, let's move on to 12.2. Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for fiscal year end June 30th, 2024. And I see Travis Hickey coming up. Thank you, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So it's twice in one night for us. So the item earlier today was we looked at the mid-year budget. And so really when it comes to finance, we have really we do a lot of things, but it could be boiled down into really two big documents we do. One is the budget document, and that's really where the council's priorities and strategies for the city are really encapsulated in the budget. And the budget's a very forward-looking document about what we're going to do in the future, how we're going to use those resources and enrich people's lives. But the other part we do is the audit. And so we have an annual audit that is completed each year. It's known as the ACFR, or Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And really this is a sort of a backwards looking document. We're not, it's not a strategic planning type of document, but it is, the most important part here is it's really our checkup, in terms of what we do in making sure that we maintain adequate controls over the city's finances and having that independent third party oversee confirm the balances that we have in our financial statements and look at our system of internal control to make sure that we have good system in place to make sure that our balances reflect our actual activities of the city. So our auditor is Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott, certified public accountants, and so they are engaged really by the council to audit our books and records. Their job is to give an opinion on the city's financial statements. So the city's staff is responsible for preparing our financial statements. We maintain all of the accounting records. We put everything together, and their job is to review that, audit it, and give their opinion as to whether the financial statements represent fairly the financial position of the city. So as I mentioned, this is sort of our annual checkup, and so the real object of this is to get an unmodified opinion, which means that or what's known as a clean opinion, meaning that they are not modifying the opinion. In other words, our financial statements represent the financial position of the city. They also look at our internal controls, and should they find any sort of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, they bring those to the council's attention in a report to council. And they also look at our internal controls, which is really our kind of skeleton structure that keeps everything in place to make sure that our systems report the correct balances. So looking at the team here, the partner with Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott, or known as RAMS, is Scott Mano. The manager is Evelyn Morenton Barcina, and the senior accountant is Jeffrey McKinnon, who's here with us this evening and will speak as to the results of their audit. For the annual financial report team on our side is myself, Margarita, our Deputy Finance Director, Anne Marie, our Finance Manager, and then our accountants and financial analysts, Dominic, Lori, Melissa, and Colin as well. So just like the budget, it really is a whole team effort in putting this document together. And so with that, I will turn it over to Jeffrey, and he will walk through the results of the audit. Following his presentation, Margarita will come up and talk about the financial results for the city.
Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. So first, I would like to thank you for once again retaining RAMS as your auditors for fiscal year 24. Really appreciate the opportunity to provide this service to the city of Menifee and your residents. And I also have to thank Travis, Margarita, Anne Marie. The whole finance department here is just fantastic. And their hard work really pays off all year long. So I have a brief presentation here, just kind of go over the audit process, starting with our objective. So our overall objective is to express an opinion on management's financial statements. And that's highlighted there because we have to emphasize that management is taking ownership of what's in those financial statements. And so we do this by gathering sufficient audit evidence, evaluating it, and in the end, we're able to provide reasonable assurance. We also have to clarify that we cannot provide absolute assurance because that would require retracing every single transaction throughout the year, which just is not practical. But through our procedures and following professional standards, as Travis mentioned, we're able to issue an unmodified opinion for fiscal year 24, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide. The standards that we follow during our audit are generally accepted auditing standards, generally accepted government auditing standards, and in the case of the single audit over the city's federal funding, uniform guidance. So there's two sets of responsibilities between management of the city and us as auditors. Management is responsible, again, for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements, and also for the design and implementation of a system of internal control that serves to prevent or detect any material misstatement due to fraud or error. As the governing body, the City Council has a fiduciary duty to the city for ethical and responsible use of its assets, and also to ensure that management is fulfilling its obligations for internal control over financial reporting. Over on the audit side, our responsibility is to audit the city's financial statements in accordance with those professional standards. We plan our audit to express opinion on whether the statements are presented in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And then toward the end of the audit, we do assist management in drafting the annual comprehensive financial report. So the audit is split up into two main phases. So we first make a trip out here right around fiscal year end to do what we call the interim portion, where we're sort of updating our understanding of the city and its internal control processes. We're interviewing finance staff, reviewing any new council resolutions, the meeting minutes. And this is where we start to develop our overall audit strategy and make our risk assessment. So then going into the year-end portion, that's where we're looking at the numbers that make up the financial statements. So we're looking at invoices, checks, primary source documents like that make up what you see there in the annual comprehensive financial report. So some of our procedures include confirming cash and investment balances directly with the financial institution. We perform various analytical procedures over expenditures and revenues and inquire about any unusual swings we may have noticed from prior year. And we also obtain and read any new relevant contracts, debt agreements, things of that nature. Actually, before I go on, you'll notice there at the bottom there were some new audit requirements this year. So as is tradition, the GASB is always looking for new standards to implement to, seek to enhance financial reporting while also giving us and your finance team more work to do. So the big one this year is GASB 100, which is called Accounting Changes and Error Corrections. So this basically provides some new disclosure requirements if, for example, there's an error in the prior year financial statements that has to be corrected this year. There's various requirements for disclosure to detail that correction. One effect that this pronouncement does have in the current year ACFR is the addition of what they call ghost columns. So what that means is when a fund moves from major to non-major or vice versa, it's not enough for us to just move it up from major or non-major to major funds. We have to have a column of zeros showing where it used to be on the prior year financial statements, indicating that it has moved from non-major to major or vice versa. So you'll see that with a couple of your funds this year. I think the TUMF fund and the bonded CFD fund had a change there. So after we gather and evaluate all of our evidence throughout the audit process, then we move into compiling all the financial statement data, the notes with the help of your city staff, and start putting the annual comprehensive financial report together. We review a lot of the introductory material that's in there, such as management's discussion and analysis, the transmittal letter, and the statistical section, just to provide some assurance that the information agrees to what's in the financial statements. And then we also have an internal review process. So your audit file goes through multiple rounds of review at various levels. We have a quality control reviewer who's independent from the audit team, look at your financial statements to ensure they're of high quality. And then finally, we issue our opinion on the financial statements, and we draft up a couple other required communications that I'll get into here on the next slide. First is the report on internal control over compliance. So this report just describes how we consider internal control overall in the audit process. It's not to express an opinion on the city's internal control structure. It's just giving some context on how it fits into the overall process. And we also, throughout the audit, we perform various tests of compliance with city policies, laws, regulations. And this is where we would report any issues noted there. And this year, there were none. And then what we call the SAS 114 letter. This is addressed to those charged with governance, being the city council. This is where we provide a little bit more background on the auditor responsibility, our firm's compliance with all ethical requirements and professional standards, as well as any significant risk we would have identified during the audit. So in the report this year, there are a couple significant risks stated in there, but I want to clarify that these are not risks that are unique to the city of Menifee. These are risks that we have to assume in every single audit that we do. So that's just kind of providing some context to where our professional skepticism is being applied. We also discuss any difficulties encountered during the audit, which there were none. Any significant estimates or accounting policies that we want to bring to your attention are also discussed in there. And finally, if we had any disagreements with management, which there were none. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions the council may have about the audit process.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate the time and care you took into this huge undertaking and the time you take to come to present here to the city of Menifee. Council members, do we have any questions? Nope. I have a quick question. So you mentioned there was an aspect of the report where you mentioned there may be some risk, but you mentioned it's not something unique to Menifee. It's something all cities encounter. Without bogging us down in too much terminology, can you simplify and summarize what a couple of those things might look like?
So basically, professional standards require us to acknowledge these risks in every single audit, one of them being revenue recognition. So revenue recognition with a government especially can be kind of tricky with the timing of your various revenue sources. So throughout our procedures, basically we're taking extra care in ensuring that your revenues are being recognized in the proper period and reported appropriately in the financial statements. The second common risk is management override of internal control. So no matter how robust an internal control structure can be, there's always a risk that there could be collusion among management to override these internal controls, and that's something that's very difficult to spot during an audit, but it's something that we're always cognizant of and aware of when we're performing our procedures.
Okay, thank you very much for that insight. Council, any other any other questions? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or has any correspondence been received?
Mayor, if I may, we have
I'm
just...
sorry, I'm sorry, Ms. Cornejo. Okay, I've been excited all night. All right.
The auditor didn't mention it, but I just wanted to point out that the report on internal controls, where they would identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, there were none noted this year for the city's audit. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. No news is good news on this one.
Yes.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. I'll keep it brief. Like CFO Hickey has said, 2 times in one day is a lot of numbers all at once in different ways. So just providing you the other element of what this financial audit is meant to do. Rams highlighted that our financial representation is fair and accurate. And then from our end, we just have a couple slides on a highlight level. Financially, what is the position of the agency of the year that we're closing? This connects to some of the elements that were touched upon in the budget workshop today, really in the area of the fund balance. That excess fund balance really derived and is calculated when you close out a year. And so I'll just go through some highlights on what led to that fund balance on the revenue and expenditure side. So the ACFR is represented into 3 main categories. You have your introductory section, which really kind of gives the background on the agency, the organizational structure, the leadership, and so forth. The majority of the financial numbers that are in there, it's the financial section, and that's where you will find very detailed schedules in a standardized accounting way that break down the city's financial position at the end of that year, as well as what is known as the management discussion and analysis. And then you have some statistical areas in the back that represent trends, as well as demographics specific to the agency. So the city, as we look at the close of 23-24, ended in a financially strong position. And that really is attributed to the fact that we had some one-time revenues that really added to the fund balance, as well as some one-time operational savings. This number that's here represented of just over 106 million is a large number on it. Looking at it comparison from one year to the other, it is higher than it was in the previous year, which is a good thing for the city. In 2023, revenues were at 93 million, and again, 2024 were at 106. The highlights of what led revenues to be higher than the prior year can be really attributed to things like sales tax. In this particular year, the city realized some one-time sales tax, both on the normal sales tax as well as quality of life, that is attributed to the Nova Park project. That particular benefit agreement not only provided the city with one-time revenue directly from the developer last year as a CBA agreement, but it also included a clause that in the construction of that particular project, the cost of constructing related to the purchase of stuff would be directly remitted back to the city of Menifee. So in that, the city realized about $8 million from the transactions related to Nova Park. Where you see a variance go down of $5 million in the charges for service is Nova Park last year had that one-time $5.5 million that you see now sitting in fund balance. And then the highlight that was touched on earlier in the budget workshop as well was that it has been a very positive interest kind of environment for the agency as a whole. Interest rates have been well over the last year, but the city in itself has taken proactive efforts to take advantage of that, as our CFO highlighted in the workshop earlier today, by consolidating and expanding its investments, where you see that use of money and property go from $400,000 to over $5 million. That's where you're seeing the benefit of what the investment of the city has realized. On the expenditure side, the expenditures are higher than they were in the previous year as well, because we have started to, fill in some vacancies that we didn't have in the prior year. There are higher fire contract costs from the prior year as well, and we just have some general costs that have increased. The biggest increase to the expenditure side really, though, is attributed to the proactive efforts that have gone in the capital improvement area. In 23-24, we saw some of the larger projects start to materialize, really Holland and the fire station number 5 construction. So you see those costs being recognized in here, and that's where you're seeing more increased activity even in the general fund. To provide some context, general fund in the context of the ACFR is represented by what we call general fund quality of life, as well as our internal service funds. So fund balance, with a lot of numbers here, but the highlight you see there is an increase of fund balance. It is 19 million, which is higher than what you saw in the budget workshop, and this is again because it's picking up those internal service funds, that's IT, fleet, and facilities. So looking citywide at all your, beyond the general fund and all the funds that went into and the activities year over year, you see again that there is both increased revenues and expenses, but what we want to highlight really on the expenditure side is the biggest categories that went up is your capital outlays and engineering, public works, which really represent a lot of, again, that CAP activity. You're seeing about $60 million of infrastructure that has materialized in this last year. Similarly, when we're looking in totality, what are the assets that the city represents? When you're looking at projects that are either in construction in progress or anything that was completed, you're seeing a change of almost $66 million, which again speaks to the city's priorities on moving forward with infrastructure. Here is a visual of some of the projects that were completed in this last year. There were some resurfacing projects, as well as we have the fire station and Holland Road overpass well underway. So this is the last slide, and the city continues to work towards providing transparency and accuracy, and in doing so, we submit every year for the GFOA Certificate Achievement and Excellence in Financial Reporting. We did receive it in the most recent year as well. We just recently submitted it again for this upcoming year, and we're optimistic that we'll receive that. But I think more importantly to that is that the city looks at that from the transparency side, but also that at the end of the day, that the picture that we're presenting is that the city is in a financially sound and strong position, really directed by the policy of the council to always manage the city's resources in a fiscally conservative way. We are available for any questions. If you are, if not, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Mrs. Cornejo. Council, do we have any questions for the second half of the presentation? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or has any correspondence been received?
No, there is not.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, do we have any comments? All right, hearing none. Mr. Hickey and Mrs. Cornejo, I just really want to say thank you for all the hard work you do throughout the year. I admire all the skills, and I think what the kind of work you guys do over in finance is prestigious, and thank you for keeping Menifee premier.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments, and also want to acknowledge Anne Marie, who's really the leader in terms of putting the audit together. And so she sits quietly in there, but it's definitely a team effort too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marie, and thank you to the whole team. Okay, this is just a receive and file, and no action is required. So we will move on. 12.3, council member committee and commission appointments. Madam Clerk, can you please introduce the item?
Just a brief update. So we have our council member, Ben Diedrich, joining us, and he's going to have the opportunity to appoint his members to his committees and commissions. With that appointment, Councilmember Dynas also will be looking at an appointment of his planning commissioner to replace Ben's spot on the planning commission.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions for staff? Hearing none. Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak or has any correspondence been received?
There was correspondence in your red folders and no request to speak.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to double check the correspondence. Okay. All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and ask Councilmember Dynas to announce his Planning Commission appointment. Councilmember Dynas, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I will be appointing Randy Madrid to our Planning Commission. As we know that we have, our Planning Commission is stocked with new people. And so with the you know, the ability that, and the knowledge that Randy has going forward, I think it would be benefit to the commission to have at least one other person other than Chris to be knowledgeable of the things that are happening on in the city and as well as how the commission works.
Councilmember Diedrich, would you please announce your appointment, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to say that, you know, I got a binder about this thick with all the applicants for these positions, and there were many, many, many qualified candidates for these positions. So it was a hard job going through and making the final decisions. But I will announce who I did ultimately decide on. So my planning commissioner will be Michael Knighton. Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commissioner will be Tom Giedroyce. Senior Advisory Committee member will be Debbie Mannion. Measure DD Oversight Committee will be Nicholas Zappia. The MCAC appointee will be David Cross, and the Veterans and Military Families Advisory Committee member will be Darcy Casillas.
Thank you, Councilmember Dynas and Councilmember Diedrich, for your announcements. I would like to call up the city clerk and up to the front all of our newly appointed commissioners and committee members. You will be sworn in.
Welcome. I'm going to have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations. If you guys want to stay up front, I think we have a picture opportunity.
Congratulations, everybody. Welcome to the team. All righty, we're going to move on to 12.4, 2025 appointments of council subcommittees and regional boards and commissions. Madam Clerk, can you please introduce the item?
Good evening, Council. So this is an item that we are revisiting since December, now that we do have a full 5-member City Council. There have been a couple changes that we've made to the list since you last saw it. One of those is the removal of the Western Riverside County Programs and Projects Committee. And re-looking at this list, this is a subcommittee of RCTC where your delegate is then appointed to other committees and commissions from RCTC. The other addition is the Southwest Higher Education Coalition. This should have been on the list prior. The council had made prior action to have this added on to the list. And with that, I will have the list up on the screen as we have done before for the council's consideration.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, I can see the screen. Great. Okay, Council, do we have any questions for staff on this? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak or has any correspondence been received on this item?
No, there is not.
Okay. All right, so we can go ahead and hop into the discussion. I'll go ahead and start at the top. The WRCOG alternate. I would like to serve as the alternate. Madam Clerk, can you please enter my name? And also for the WRCOG TUMF program zone annually as needed. There we go, it's all in unison there. Next, we have the Western Riverside Regional Conservation.
Before you get to that, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, sir. Go
on
ahead.
the SCAG, and I've been on that for 6 years now. I think it's someone else to, I hate to hog it all to myself, so I'd be happy if someone else would go ahead and replace me.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Dynas. Council, do we have any volunteers for this?
Well,
okay. Oh.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Diedrich.
My understanding is that traditionally new council members typically often get appointed to SCAG. So if there are no other volunteers, I will throw my name in unless Mr. Temple wants it.
Well, okay, so it sounds like
I'm no longer the new guy.
It sounds like. All right, Councilmember.
There was just a dearth of silence there, so I figured I would step up to the plate.
Yeah, Councilmember Temple, I'm willing to volunteer that for you if you would like, or I can keep it. What's your preference?
What are you talking about?
SCAG.
You know, I mean, I'd be happy to do it. I'd be happy to do it. I see it's a
okay
2-day event. Is it in Riverside?
It's usually in Riverside County. They usually go out to the Palm Springs area.
Okay.
It's a great networking opportunity and a great opportunity to learn our regional partners.
Yeah. So as alternate or primary?
Primary.
Okay.
All right. Great. All right. Madam Clerk, can you scroll up a little bit, please? I am the alternate to the Western Riverside Regional Conservation Authority and the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency. Usually those go hand in hand, as you see Councilmember Temple there. Do I have any volunteers for the alternate?
I'll throw my hat in there.
All right, Councilmember Diedrich, stepping up to the plate. All right, Councilmember Diedrich, you can have both of those as the alternate. They go hand in hand, so they'll complement one another. Okay, we've addressed that. We've addressed SCAG. We're down to the Menifee Chamber of Commerce. We have a primary representative vacancy there. Do we have any volunteers for this?
I mean, Ben, do you want to do it? Because you're already in the Chamber of Commerce, right? I'm the alternate. I'll stay the alternate, but I think you'd be a good choice for that because you're already involved with that organization.
Sure, and I've brought that up that I think the two that I think I'm a would potentially be a great fit for would be the Chamber of Commerce and the Higher Education Coalition. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, next, Southwest Community Facilities Authority, Animal Friends of the Valley. Councilmember Dynas is our primary representative. We have a vacancy for the alternate. Do we have volunteers?
I'll take that alternate spot.
All right, great,
For
Mayor
that.
Pro Tem. That's a fun one, being with the animals. All right. Next, Southwest Elected Collaborative Group. We have a primary vacancy there. Any volunteers? Hearing none, let's think about that one for a second. Southwest Higher Education Coalition, that's right beneath that. Do we have any volunteers for that one?
I would like to step up for that one if no one else is.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Diedrich. There's also an alternate.
I'd be okay doing that.
You do that? Okay, great. Thank you, Councilmember Temple. All right. It looks like everything is filled up here. You know what? We have, okay, down to the local committees. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Dynas, I see you
No,
in the
go ahead.
queue.
I'll let you.
I wasn't ignoring you.
No, I know. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish what your thought was.
Oh,
before
my
I
thought
jump in.
was, yeah, we're down to this and they're all filled up, but I'm opening it up to anyone who would like to make any trades or offer it to someone else.
Like to trade Councilman Dynas for Luka Doncic.
And a cash consideration.
And a future draft
This
pick.
is a trading deadline. All right, let's see here.
Yeah, I'm not available for that Southwest Elected Collaborative Group. It's a third Thursday. That's Rotary, and I've also got legal education classes at that time, so I'm not available for those meetings.
And I also have my RTA board meetings then. So.
All right. Let's see here. Well, the only vacancy left is that Southwest Elected Collaborative Group. And it sounds like we might be at a standstill. We can, has anyone ever been to that on this council? Has anyone? No?
I think that was formerly Mayor Zimmerman's appointment,
That was Mayor Zimmerman's appointment.
and I don't think he ever missed a meeting that existed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as of right now, it sounds like our hands are tied. We can hold off on it. Does this group doesn't ask for any funding countywide? Is there any financial implications to this group?
Mayor, if I could, that collaborative, formerly Mayor Zimmerman and former Councilmember Sobek were both appointed to that along with the Southwest Elected Collaborative. They deal with regional issues that may impact us, ranging from a wide variety. It could be transportation, education, anything that is collectively affecting cities in our region.
Okay. I hate to leave it vacant. I mean, there's no penalty for an absence. We would like to send a representative. Would anyone like to throw their name out? And if you can make it that particular month, great.
Is that an in-person meeting, or do they meet by Zoom? If so, where?
It is in person. We'd have to confirm the location of where they've been meeting. I believe they've been meeting in the city of Murrieta at the library, but I'd have to verify the.
Okay.
I'll throw my name in, Mayor.
Oh, whoa, all right. Coming to the rescue.
Well, and I think also as an alternate, I'll do alternate.
Okay.
And we can share those responsibilities.
Okay, great. Excellent. All right. We did it. This team of 5 did it. All right, it looks like everything is full. Any other recommendations or, Councilmember Dynas, I see you're still blinking. I wasn't ignoring you, sir.
No, that's
Yep.
okay. I do want to bring up an issue here on the ad hoc committees. As you're well aware, we all sat through a very riveting ethics, actually on the edge of your seat class, and just trying to give our city attorney some kudos here. But during that, we learned that I didn't learn much. No, I just joking. But I did. We discussed different committees and commissions and council meetings, and one was the ad hoc committee that were supposed to be for a one purpose subject, as well as, once it's over, it's supposed to be done, and you dissolve it once that subject is put to rest. But on the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee, that's been here for 6 years now. So I'm concerned that we're not following the spirit of the law, at least, if not the letter of the law here, to continue an ad hoc committee that is meeting, regular or not, but is not meeting the definition of an ad hoc committee. So I'm going to bring that to the attention, because for a future agenda item, I'm going to ask for a report from staff as to, what it all involves, whether if I'm not out of my mind here on this, and what possible alternatives we can use on that. So I just want to bring that to the council's attention.
City Attorney Melching.
Yeah, just a little to add to that. Councilman Dynas and I had a really productive, I think, conversation after the AB 1234 training. And I think we sort of reached a point, maybe we passed the point, but I don't think we were originally in this situation, but we've reached a point where we need to consider whether that committee is functioning as a Brown Act committee, which requires published agendas and advance notice. And to the extent it does, and it's leaning more and more like it does, it's existed for a long time, then we have a couple of options, and I think it does make sense to talk about things like maybe that is a committee that gets constituted and then reconstituted on an as-needed basis as individual issues arise, which wouldn't require Brown Act compliance. Or alternatively, maybe it's time we start publishing agendas and giving 72-hour notice for it. So that's the background on it. I don't think we've necessarily done things wrong, but I think we've reached a point where we need to take a much closer look at what we're doing there.
Okay, so City Attorney Melching, it sounds like your recommendation is not necessarily to address this right now, but could be a future agenda request that we can bring forward and air out.
Yeah, it's a good news, bad news situation. I think for purposes of tonight, you're free to make an appointment. That's the process that you're in. It meets on an as-needed basis. There is no current meeting scheduled, so we have time to kind of talk about how to address the issues that Councilman Dynas raised.
Okay. Well, Councilmember Dynas, thanks for bringing this to our attention, and if you make a future agenda request, I would second it. Okay, you can address that. When I was first a member on this council, I didn't get an opportunity to serve on some of these local committees, and Councilmember Diedrich, as a newer member, I think I wanted to extend an opportunity for you. I think you're a member of the council and you should have the opportunity to participate in some of these. Would you be interested in taking the Southern Gateway?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you please put Councilmember Diedrich in my place there? Okay, great. Okay, any other discussion from council? Can you scroll up, please, Madam Clerk? Oh, okay. I see Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Carwin taking a second look. Okay. All right. I hear no other requests. All right. Can I get a motion and a second to ratify the appointments as discussed? Motion. Okay, second. All right. It looks like the screen is, there we go, 5-0. All righty. Let's move on now. Part 13, City Attorney reports. City Attorney Melching, do you have anything to report?
Nope, said everything I'm going to say tonight. All good.
Thank you, sir. City Manager Villa, do you have anything to report?
Just one item is tomorrow and Friday, we will be attending the City Manager Conference sponsored by the California League of Cities. This is a conference where most city managers from all over California meet and talk about issues, finance issues, housing issues, environmental issues, and I'm really looking forward to hearing where the rest of the state is and on issues like finance and things like that. So I'll be out of the city along with our two city managers, assistant city manager, deputy city manager. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Villa. All right. 15, future agenda requests from council members.
This may surprise you, but I have one.
All right.
So, I would like a future agenda item to look at the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee and if we're still within the legal definition of it and what alternatives we can use for it.
Okay. Second. Councilmember Temple.
Yeah, I know it was brought up in the last couple of city council meetings, but I would like on the agenda the naming of the bridge over Salt Creek on Bradley Road as the Bradley Road Veterans Memorial Bridge. I think it's very fitting for the 10,000 plus veterans we have in the area.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a future agenda request. Today we heard a lot about our federal level, our state level, our local representatives, and I would like a staff report and a refresher for the city council on term limits and number of terms council, committee members, and commissioners can serve.
Just so I'm clear, I mean, do you need a staff report on the term limits for city council?
I'd like to have a discussion on the term limits for everyone.
All right, so I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Any other future agenda requests? Okay. We're on the final part, adjournment. It is 8:12. We are adjourned. Good night, Menifee.